welcome once again to one of the Hobby Memorial Library and Mayborn Science Theater partnership programs, virtual night sky tour with our CTC astronomer, Warren Hart. Hey, Warren.
Hi, how you doing?
We are doing well. Well,
Good,
we're going to go through October today, right?
Well, yes, we're going to do the last week of September because that's where we are. And I want to point out a few things and we'll proceed on into October.
All righty. So tell me when to go.
All right, let's bring up the September calendar, the second page of it.
Okay, well, you told me I could show them where to find these things.
Oh, well, pardon me. Yes, indeed. Go ahead and do that.
All right, wait, I'm going to show everybody on our library website. If you go down and you hit Research Study Guide, and we have lots of research study guides, but this is Astronomy in Mayborn Science Theater. And that's what the page looks like. And this is where we get all of our information besides Warren's brain. Warren's brain put it in here. So we've got the calendars, we've got the maps, and he also added something new this time, the extreme stars. So now I'm going to go to September calendar.
Okay, and down to the second page, if you would, please.
All righty.
There we are on, today is Thursday the 22nd. And right here, there's our Facebook presentation. That's what we're doing here. And you notice also on that day at 8:03 this evening, the sun is at what it's called the equinox location. So what does that word mean? That's in Latin. And if you break it apart, the first part is real simple. Equinox, equi would be equal. But then the nox is a little more puzzling, but it's talking about night. And so on that day, tonight, and the next day, that we will have the sun exactly is on the equator, right above the equator. And because of its location, as it's continuing to move as we perceive it in the sky southward, we are going to leave this evening. As you can read there, we will leave the season of summer and we go into autumn or fall. And because the sun is directly above our Earth's equator, it will rise on the east horizon due east. And it's going to set at due west, perfect east and west. And that will be tonight. If you watch, or this evening, as it sets in the west, you will see, you can then determine what is perfect west for you, wherever you are. And then in the morning, you will get the east direction. Notice then on Friday the 23rd, continuing through the rest of September and on into the first week of October, there is an annual event that happens actually twice a year, but annually at this time. And it's called zodiacal light, but I prefer the ecliptical light on it. What this is, there are dust particles in the region of where Earth travels through in our orbit around the sun. And those dust particles from the sun's sunlight on them will reflect the light. It's not real bright, but it's going to be, as you notice there, it will be visible from right after midnight on the 23rd and going on each morning up to sunrise, and you'll look to, notice, to the northeast from there. So there's each day is mentioning when that would happen on there. And then this Saturday at 5:30 is when I will do my presentation in the planetarium for the same 7 constellations we're going to talk about here in October. So now we're ready. Let's go on down to the 25th, and the moon is in its new position, which means the moon is in between Earth and the sun. And so actually we cannot see it because we would be looking at the backside, the dark side of the moon, and we would be looking also directly toward the sun. It's not an eclipse yet because in this case, the moon is either below or above, being directly in line with the sun and the earth. So it's just noting here when we start, and the new moon is the beginning for reference for the astronomers of the orbit of the moon. However, the next on the 26th is very good for this year. The planet Jupiter, the king of all planets, the largest one, is what is called the opposition. Now that point gives us then, it's in relation, we have the sun, and then from the sun, here's Earth, and then from Earth, at night, we would look out into the dark sky, and there is Jupiter. So Jupiter is opposite from the sun in relation to Earth, and that's where you get the name of being in opposition. And if it's good and dark for you and you have good eyesight, you will be able to pick up without binoculars or telescope, you'll be able to pick up and see some of the 4 Galilean moons. And the Galilean moons are named after Galileo, who was the first person back in the 1600s that viewed Jupiter with his homemade telescope, and he noticed these objects that were out there. Initially thought those were other stars, but as time went on in observing, he noticed that they moved much more rapidly than the stars did. And after a while, they seemed to go behind Jupiter out of sight, and also would come in front of Jupiter and would seem to go across it. So that was new to him, and of course to everybody. They didn't think there was anything else other than the planets, Earth, Moon, Sun, and all of the stars. They didn't think that there were any other moons other than here on Earth. And this was a significant discovery that he made. And then next we have the last of the September constellations, the constellation Tucana, the toucan bird. And we do have its information here, and we'll just quickly let you see. There's not going to be much to see because look on there. There is that dashed dotted line, and that is our southern horizon. And you can now look and you see there of all of the 5 stars of Tucana, we can only see just barely number 2, and that's it. Unless you decide to get in your car or your private Learjet and fly south or whatever, then you will be getting further south. You will have a greater opportunity to see the rest of the Tucana there. So it's a partial viewing that we have. And if you go scroll down to its second page, third page, if you would, keep going. And there is the information on it, and it tells you about the different things that is available. And so that's what's available for all of the constellations that we have. Okay, Cindy, let's go back to the calendar. And since we're in the last week of September, let's just go ahead and we'll get out of the September calendar and let's look at October. And notice October here, I have started it off in the gray, and there's exactly what I was talking about for you. And that we have the moon in its new location, and on Monday was going, or next Monday will be Jupiter opposition, and or we've already have that. So we go on, and now we go to October the 1st, and we have something in red to draw our attention. And what is that, Cindy? And if you go down, and there is our countdown, and we don't hear you. That is your countdown, our countdown to the total
Sorry.
solar eclipse here.
Yeah, that's our countdown for the eclipse.
Yes. And so there you can go if at any time you're interested, uh, go on to the website there, and there is our countdown that we have. And I just put that on the calendar pages also each time. Okay, thank you very much, Cindy. That now people know where, in addition, to refer to. But on October the 1st, it's 555 days to go. And Cindy has already talked about, but here is the URL, the address, if you will, to go to the CTC Library's Astronomy Library Guide page. And that's for you to refer to and use. Now let's go to Sunday the 2nd, and the moon has continued on from its new position. It's now around to the side of us, and it's at what we call its first quarter position. And from the new moon, it was started out, it was a waxing crescent. And now at the first quarter, we see half of the moon looks like it's lit up, and that's a reflection from the sun on the surface of the moon. And there's a dark section. And so it looks divided in half, you will. And now, as time goes on, from the second on, each day it's going to look like that illuminated side starts getting a bulge on it. It begins to get larger there, and that's called gibbous, waxing gibbous phase. And that does mean that it has a bulge there. Then we go on Tuesday the 4th. Again, the moon is at what is called its perigee location. And this is the 13th closest of all 14 times this year that the moon has been at the perigean position there. And you can get that information. And if you know what the term perigee means, go ahead and call it in or text in, however you want to. And let's see who can determine and tell us does it mean the moon is at its perigee location. Let's skip on over to Thursday the 6th, and there is our first October constellation, and that is Sculptor. and that's in the far south. And so, Cindy, let's go ahead to Sculptor. There you go. You notice on the diagram on the side, it says that the top line there is at 10 degrees below the equator. Okay, so we're in the southern hemisphere. And then we're in the 20, and then we're in the 30, and we can see all of Sculptor because we would have to go down to 58.9, and that's where our southern horizon is. So here you get all of Sculptor, and that could be his a chisel or whatever you want to use to refer to. Now there is, in addition, you see in the very center of the white area, which is the spherical area in the sky that the astronomers designated back at 1930, in that time period for all the constellations, that there is something called CVP, and then there's also GSP. Now, what in the world are these? Let's scroll down to our next page and let's see if we can find out what we have. Okay, first of all, we're going to have the GSP. And if you read that, you notice that's our south pole of our Milky Way galaxy that we are in. And so we are looking at that time, we are looking straight down on the south pole of our Milky Way galaxy. And if we scroll back up to the bottom of the first page, Cindy, just up a little bit, just so we can see, stop, nope, go back down, keep going, and a little more. Now, there we go. And the CVP is the central viewing point. You take the whole area and you figure out what is left, right, or right ascension, where's the middle, and up, down, what is the middle, to give you the actual middle of the constellation. So let's scroll up to the page and look. And this is for someone who has a telescope that you can insert, if you will, the right ascension and the declination, and your telescope will then point to that position there, which is intended that then you have the greatest opportunity to see all of the constellation area. That's all the central viewing point means. All right, let's go back to the calendar and finish up our week here on the calendar. And notice there I put on Saturday the 8th, it's 548 days, but it's also 18 months to go because the eclipse is on April the 8th. So going on the 8th of each month is a count. You can have a countdown to how many months to go. Then on here, then at 4 o'clock in the afternoon on Saturday, the planet Mercury is what is called its greatest elongation west. And this is a good time in the evening to view the planet Mercury. And the best part, and also it says that it is leading, because of that position, it is leading the sun. And I've said that the best viewing is tomorrow morning before sunrise. So let's look over on Sunday the 9th, and I'll give you the information. Planet Mercury will rise above our eastern horizon at 6:07 in the morning. And the sun does not arise until 7:30. So you have an hour and 23 minutes. And the closer you get to the time sun rises, of course, then the twilight gets lighter and lighter. So your best time to see Mercury is going to be over in there as it rises in the east, and follow that and see it there. Because Mercury is so close, majority of the time all year, that its orbit keeps it too close to the sun to be visible. Now, notice also, scroll up just a little bit more to the previous week there, Cindy. There, go, stop. Thank you. Notice the moon, we said, we've gone from the very top up there in October. It was at its new location, and that's when it began its waxing crescent phase. Then on Sunday the 2nd, it gets to its first quarter position, and I mentioned that it starts then its waxing gibbous phase, and now we're on Sunday the 9th, and notice it's now at its full location, the full moon. So the full moon, the moon has orbited from the front of us in between the sun and earth. It's gone around to the side of us, and it's now also, if you will, behind us in relation to the sun. So that's why you get then your full information on that. And so it's full, and now as it continues orbiting, notice there, as we have, just scroll down just a touch, or up just a touch, Cindy, for the previous, there, right there, hold it. Notice it says that from the first quarter to the full, it's in a waxing gibbous phase. Okay, and now on Sunday the 9th, it goes from full moon, it continues orbiting, and it's in the reverse, if you will. It goes now from waxing gibbous, which means growing in the illuminated side keeps getting larger and larger. Now the illuminated side of the moon is going to start decreasing. So we go from a waxing gibbous to a waning gibbous. And we'll continue on. Now, Monday the 10th is pretty busy. Notice it says there, I have mentioned that there are three constellations that are on the same date that you can have an opportunity to view. So we're going to look at them one at a time. So the first one, Cindy, is our Andromeda, the Chained Lady, or as it's titled up there, she is the princess or the daughter of, in mythical Ethiopia, for Cepheus, the king of mythical Ethiopia, and Cassiopeia, the queen of mythical Ethiopia. So there's the three in the royalty, if you will, of mythical Ethiopia. And you can see a very good time of the year for it. And notice, draw your attention to that red oblong looking thing that's labeled capital A. Let's find out what that is. So let's go down to our other page, and let's see if we can find, if I have anything on it. There's the list of all of the stars in numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and oh, there's A, and it's a Messier object named after the French astronomer in the 1700s who was looking for other, let's see, what was, he was looking for galaxies and other things. But anyway, this is M31, that's the number of it. It just means that's the 31st object that he found. And this is actually a galaxy. And if you read through there on that first line, it gives its address. It's bright enough that you can see it without binoculars or telescope. And notice how far away it is. 2.5 million light years from Earth. And then I put on there, this is the farthest object you can see without using binoculars or telescope. And there gives now the information, its diameter, and we are traveling toward, our Milky Way is traveling toward that Milky Way. So let's see, if I had the information, no, I don't think I have there, that in a few million years from now, we're going to collide. But I don't think any of us need to worry about that. Now, that is what is visible, and the others that are far away is in Tucana, but remember, we could only see the top star in Tucana. You'd have to go south to see it, and we'll look at the Triangulum eventually and our own Milky Way. These are objects you could see without binoculars or telescope. All right, let's go back, Cindy, to the calendar. That was Andromeda. And the next one is Phoenix, the Firebird. And this is mythology that as the bird in its lifespan would reach a certain age of whatever, and as it died, it burned itself up. And then from that, then the new phoenix bird, firebird, became, we'll say, mythically alive and grew up. And here we have it. Now, here's the difference. Notice here in the white area, that's the whole area for Phoenix. And there are the stars, and I connect for us to make the bird. Notice below, just below the white area, there is our southern horizon that I talked about. And there, just below that, you see Tucana. So you get the relationship. Phoenix is just above Tucana that we there, and here is Phoenix. So Phoenix, we can see all of it, even though it's in the far south, and it's available for us to see. Let's go back. We have one more constellation on that same day. And there you go down and you notice it's Pisces the fishes. So let's take a look at Pisces the fishes, Cindy. And here we go. Okay. And let's check and see if we can see it. Well, I think we can. Notice the upper top left part of it, it says it's plus 40 degrees. Then there's plus 30, 20, 10, and there's the equator. Well, definitely we can see it. There is nothing in the way for us. And so you'll be able to see all of Pisces, the fishes. Notice it's two things. It is an equatorial constellation. Warren, what do you mean? Well, look at what the area, the spherical area in the sky is designated. It straddles the equator, so it is equatorial. But also notice what the blue line going across, that's the ecliptic line that the sun follows. So it's not only equatorial, it's ecliptical constellation, both of them. And I have indicated there for you that that is the midnight position of the sun on the date when in March we do our vernal or our equinox. The sun comes back up from the winter south crossing going north, and that's when we go from winter to spring. So of the three, let's go back to the calendar. Of the three on that date of the 10th, we can see all of Phoenix. We can see all of Pisces, but there, and there, as far as the Firebird we talked about, we can see on that. So we all three were very fortunate that we have that, and Tucana is the one that we had mentioned earlier that we cannot see. Now, on the 12th, or in October, we're going to have our presentation. And if you want to talk about that, Cindy.
Well, it's going to be a little bit earlier in October because Warren's in-person show is going to be earlier in that at that time. So let me show you. Whoops, except the thing came in down and it's in my way. All right. On our library page, we have an events page. And if you hit that, it'll give you what all of our events are. So you can go ahead and hit the virtual night sky tours and it will definitely give you the next date. So the next date, as you can see, is a lot earlier.
Stop it when she tells me to stop it. See, I can't tell.
So, okay. Did I do it right?
Yeah, you got it.
No, she's almost done or not.
I just heard Alyssa talking and I wasn't sure if she needed us for anything.
Oh, sorry. Good.
Okay.
And is also, if you will, the sun, as I mentioned there, on the Thursday, the 22nd, that that's where the sun is, and summer ends and autumn begins. So there's there, and in this, let's see, we're in the September calendar there,
Oh,
Cindy.
sorry, man, just on a roll. Okay, we're back. We're
Okay,
back.
good. Very fine. Okay, so we have there, and there's the address that Cindy was talking about, so you can go and see on the LibGuide. Then on the Thursday the 13th, we have another of our constellations, and this is Cassiopeia. And Cassiopeia, as she goes to it, is the queen of mythical Ethiopia. And we there she is, and notice she is, if in relation, is above Andromeda, which is just below. So when I choose the constellations for the month, I try to get them as straight up and down as I can, and so that you're not jumping back and forth from left to right and all of this and getting confused. And when I go at the planetarium and we go down from the top to the bottom, from north to south, I point out each time how you can move and use pointers or whatever, pointer systems, and to go to the next constellation and keep going in that way. So here is Cassiopeia. Cassiopeia is very important because if you look above on the last star, which is number 6, on that same line that says 2H, it's the second hour of right ascension. You see there's 3 stars, not very bright, but they're in a pretty good of a straight line. And I point out how you would use that straight line and Cassiopeia to help you to find Polaris. So come to the presentation and I'll show you how you can use Cassiopeia along with another thing to help you to find then the North Star. And even there is a third. So that's it for there. Let's go back to the calendar. And you see that's the end of that week. And we're now into the second half of October. And our next thing is, well, we left the full moon. We're back to a third quarter moon. We go in the reverse order like this from full to third quarter, first quarter, new. So at third quarter, we've gone from a waxing gibbous now to a waning gibbous to a waning crescent. So the illuminated side of the moon is getting smaller and smaller as you look in the sky. And predominantly, once we go past the full moon, then you're going to see the moon in early morning. So when you get up to go outside to get the newspaper or whatever, go walk the dog or do your walk, and you see the moon, you know it's in its final, going toward its final phases of the orbit there. Now, on the Tuesday the 18th, we have something. The moon is at another location, and it's called the apogee. And it kind of gives us a clue here, give for you. It is the 11th what? Farthest of all of the 13 apogee location moons. So think about what we had. We have now the apogee and we had the perigee. And if we scroll back up on the first page of the calendar, we should have, go ahead there, and let's find perigee. And notice what it says. The moon is at its 13th closest. So, Cindy, how do you figure out which is perigee and apogee? What do you think?
Perigee is when it's perilously close, and we should be very concerned. And apogee means it's further away. Did I get it right? This
You
time
got it right.
I
You
got
got
it right.
100% on the test.
Okay.
Yeah. So the perigee, as talking like she said, is the when it's closest to us in its orbit, and apogee when it's the farthest. Okay. Now let's continue on over to the Saturday the 22nd. And there you see is going to be my presentation there of the November constellations. And there happens to be 7 of them also. And we have also on the 22nd, another one of our October constellations. It says it's an equatorial constellation. So by now you should know where you would look for it in the sky. And its name is Cetus. That's either the sea monster or the whale. And the sea monster is involved in a story that I will tell in the planetarium sometime. Now, here is Cetus, and there you are. Notice above it and to the right in the gray area, there is our constellation Pisces. And you see there's the intersection of the blue line, the ecliptic, and the brown line, the equator. And I pointed out for us in Pisces, that's the location of the sun. And Pisces is both an equatorial and an ecliptical constellation. But you look here at Cetus, and it doesn't quite make it to the ecliptic. So it's only an equatorial constellation. And there it is. And Cetus is involved with Cepheus the king, Cassiopeia the queen, Andromeda the daughter, and also a hero that comes and gets involved in whatever is going on. All right, let's get back to the calendar. And you see where we were, and we're going to go now down to the 25th of October on Tuesday, and we're back at the new phase location. So we begin another moon orbit. There's its time, and it starts off with being waxing because the sunlight on the surface of the moon is going to start being visible for us because of its position. Then we go over to Saturday the 29th, and guess what? In October, we have 2 perigees. And that can happen there. That's based on the time and the we'll say the number of days in the month. If the first part is early in the month, then it's possible the second part could be in the latter part of the month. And if it is at least a 30-day month, and very, very rare does this happen for February of a 28-day month. But it does come up, of course, more often for a leap year February. Okay, last week, not last week, I'm talking about the last week of the month of October. And notice here is our 7th constellation for October. It's Triangulum. So let's go to Triangulum and let's see, can we see it? Well, let's look at our numbers there. The latitude, if you will, or the declination is what? Plus 40 and plus 30 plus 12. Well, yes, it's above the equator. So we're going to be able to see Triangulum. Notice on the page in the upper right corner, there is our Andromeda galaxy M31, and you're going to be able to see it because it's bright enough in the sky, in the dark sky. You can see it. And look here in Triangulum, we have also an elliptical red thing with the letter A. Well, we better check this out. So let's
That's
go
not
there.
flying saucers.
Yeah, we could be. Well, let's find out what we have here. Okay, thank you. And let's see. Oh, I've listed it as the very first thing. And notice it's an M33. And if you remember, I told you that this is based on an astronomer back in the 1700s, a French astronomer, Messier is his name. And there's the information on it. And it's 2.8 million light years away. It's about three tenths of about 300 million 300,000 light years closer or farther away than Andromeda. So it's not the closest. Andromeda is the closest at 2.5. And the Triangulum galaxy is one of 5 galaxies that we can see without binoculars or telescope. And so there is the Triangulum galaxy. Notice I list also number 1, our own galaxy. We can see it ourselves because we're in it. Then if you go far enough south, you have to go south, there is what is called the Large Magellanic Cloud and the Small Magellanic Cloud. That is named after the Portuguese captain explorer Magellan, who circled the Earth at sea and kept record of it. And so in honor of him, and he does designate in his logbook about these 2 clouds he saw in the sky, well, and they were able to see them. And so he didn't know because he didn't have a telescope and what it was. So he called it, it's called a cloud, and it happens to be of the 2, the larger one. So it's the Large Magellanic Cloud, and the other one is the small. And then number 4 is Andromeda. So how many of the 4 galaxies that you can see without binoculars or telescope can we see from here at Central Texas College? When you figure that out, text and let us know. Okay, let's go on back to the calendar. And here we then, you notice the sun as it travels through, it goes into the balance scales. It's left Virgo, the Virgin, the Maiden. It's now the balance scales. And now as we go on in the first week of November, there you see the information, how many days till the total solar eclipse. Where is the moon? There's something called the equation of time that I'll talk about next month. And I got a reminder for you. Read through that before going to bed. Don't forget to set all of your clocks. And what do we do, Cindy? What's the old thing for going into now and changeover? What do we say on setting your clocks?
Let's see, spring forward, fall back.
Okay, and look here,
Was
what
there
does it
something?
say? It says
What?
set them back. We're going
yeah.
to be in the fall.
In the fall, yes.
So we fall back an hour and subtract an hour, which means we pick up an hour, if you will, and we go along here.
So
Okay.
don't go places early that day.
Yeah. Well,
Which
you do.
sometimes happens.
If you do, you get a great parking place.
Yes.
All
Yes.
to your own. And
Uh-huh.
with others who are sitting there with puzzlement on their face.
Yes, yes.
Okay, that is our October calendar that we have available for you. And by the way, these are all done, calendar and the constellations and all of this. And let's go to one last thing, Cindy, the very newest thing that's on your website right there. Let's look at
Extreme
something called
stars.
Extreme Stars.
Whoops.
No,
Sorry.
what in the world is an
Wait, I
extreme
have to find
star?
it. Let me just click it.
Okay.
Because I sort of lost it.
Okay. If
All
you
right.
go to the website,
Wait.
and we're getting
Wait.
there.
There we go.
Here it is. I want to start providing this. There are 6 things in describing all of the stars, and there's actually 8, but I only chose 6 of them. Here you see at the top, its apparent visual magnitude. How bright is it? And so of all of each constellation, what is the brightest star in that constellation? Let's look just right there. The next one down for Andromeda constellation, it is number 5, Alpheratz. And so we would just, okay, that's good. And so that's the brightest. And then we say the dimmest. And so for Andromeda, there is a star that has a Greek name, Nu Andromedae. And then also you go, we got it, how bright or how dim, how far away is it, which in each constellation is the furthest away, which one is the closest, and then which is the largest and which is the smallest. So there, and you can scroll down just a little bit, Cindy, on the second page is the remaining 3 constellations. So you would go through and you notice some of them I have in gray. And what that means, let's go back up to the first page, that I have gone through the 7 constellations and I wanted to find in here, in summary, what is the brightest star of all 7 constellations. And there it is. It's, if you see, it is Difta, and it happens to be in Cetus, the sea monster or the whale. And then what's the dimmest? And that's in Sculptor, which happens to be on the second page, but that's all right. And there it is, the dimmest of all 7. And then you go and you see there as far as which one's the farthest, and that happens to be in Pisces. And then what's the closest? Well, we're back into Cetus again. And then which is the largest? We're back into Pisces. And what's the smallest? Well, we're in Cetus again. So notice Cetus gets 3 of the 6, and Pisces goes down, and we see on the next page there, Cindy, that Pisces gets 2 of them. And then finally, Sculptor gets 1. So just another little nerdy thing for you, if you will, of each constellation. I do list on it its brightest, dimmest, farthest, closest, largest, smallest. And there's some other relationships there, but I don't deal with that. So for you, when you decide, if you go outside and you see at Cetus and you see, well, that's the brightest one for October right there. So something for you. All right, Cindy, we can go back to either the home page or whatever you want. We have coming up 5 minutes. Are there any questions? Any comments?
Let's see. Alyssa, are there any questions? I
Nope.
can't see the
No,
chat.
no questions right now. Okay.
No questions.
Okay.
Well, if y'all ever have any questions, make sure that you, either reach out to us, reference request at ctcd.edu, or reach out to Warren. We're always here, and Warren definitely. He's got vast information. Before we do go, I want to go ahead and remind you guys that later today at 4:00, there is an art exhibit reception. So make sure you come to that. And that's at the library. Also at the library, this upcoming Monday, we have City Councilman and former Mayor, Mr. Jose Segarra. He will be over here at the library, and he's going to go ahead and talk to us about the importance of voting. So go ahead and show some support, because it will be in person, and come over and meet him in person. He's going to also be talking about his life story. Just a couple other things real quick. On Monday, we also have at 4:00 Philosophy and Popcorn. Philosophy and Popcorn is a new event that we're doing. where we sit in the room and we go ahead and pose a question, a philosophical question to everyone in the room. And everybody gets a chance to answer the question for whatever's true to you. It's your opinion. Often we have opinions. We never get a chance to tell people the opinions. And the best part about this is there's no judgment, no questioning, no debate. People in the room sit and listen, so it's great to have some listening skills and to learn about maybe some other people's opinions. And that's also next Monday at 4 p.m. Make sure that you check out our events page. We have transhumanism, archaeology, poetry slam, many more fun activities. So you guys just keep doing our thing, and y'all do y'all thing and watching it. Any
Very good.
final words on this is called the autumn equinox, correct, today?
Equinox.
Yes. So any
Mhm.
final words about the autumn equinox, sir?
Well, it's going to be the day of the year, one of the two, when we're going to have the same amount of nighttime as we will have of daytime. And also, it's the time twice a year when the sun is going to rise on the east and set on the west.
Okay. All righty. I'll finally be able to figure out where my house is located, because I
Right,
get
you
very
get its
confused.
orientation.
Yes.
If you figure out which is east or west, then you should be able to turn 90 degrees and find out where you're going to look for Polaris.
Okay. All righty. Great. Well, Warren, as always, thank you so much for all of your knowledge. We're so fortunate here on campus and at Central Texas College to have you, because you're a wealth of information. I find myself at night or early morning hours looking up in the sky and going, wait, I know that. I know what's happening there. Or if I see the moon and it's pretty full and it looks like it's getting ready to hit us, I go, aha, that's perigee. It's gonna hit us. And I'll have to ask you more about when these galaxies collide. I know we won't be around, but yeah, didn't know we had a date. So
Yeah. Yep.
okay.
Oh boy.
All righty. Well, guys, thank you guys so much for visiting with us. And thank you, Warren, once again. And we will go ahead and see you next time. So everybody have a great rest of your day and enjoy the tiny bit cooler weather.
Yeah. Theoretically.
Tiny bit. All right. Well, thank you. And Alyssa, if you will take us out.